Hey, hey, beautiful people. It's been a long time since you've seen me, huh? I've had a pretty wild past couple of months, about a month and a half since I left Florida. I've done several videos and haven't published them because they're really more about the breaking down of the old system and less about Ascension. Over the past month, I've had to hack and crack and break into and unlock multi-level password protected encrypted POS system from my family business and save the data without it crashing. I had many IT friends over the past years that couldn't do it, and other persons that were just thinking no way, it can't be done, and I got it done. At the same time, I found out that Microsoft had been extorting the planet with their Windows XP and forcing everybody to buy new computers when they removed the Service Pack 3 from their Microsoft Update site, as I had to format my computer specially to view a 2 gigabyte and less hard drive that was on the 20-year-old POS system. Being an IT guy, I had to use some old 1998-99 beta version Windows XP Service Pack 3s to get all my updates. And in the last week of March, I found out that the Service Pack 3 had been removed from the Microsoft Update site, and without that you couldn't get updates, and they were telling everybody, the whole world, that they needed to buy new computers. So I got to expose all that too. I hear from other people that Microsoft has now decided to keep servicing Windows XP for a while after they've actually made tens of billions of dollars in their extortion of the businesses and personal computers over the planet. I'm sitting here at the Ruskin Oak. I'm in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. I left Florida to come through here and sell all my guns and all my ammo and all my weapons of destruction, which I'd always trained for, in case we had a fork in the road and we have light and dark and light and dark. And we went to the dark side, we were going to have to battle this out. I trained heavily for that for a long time, and I realized in this past year that we've really got to quit that mode of magnetics that attracts something like that. And those of us that are in our higher levels of ascension, we have to be completely open source. As I get back to Mississippi, I'm finding multiple levels. I mean, even in my own family, in my friends, in the people around here. And I came back into so much chaos that for the past month and a half, I was not getting any clear messages. It was, I believe the last messages that I was telling persons I was receiving while I was in Florida was I was to be like a gyroscope on a ship. And what a gyroscope on a ship does is as a wave. And I knew that we were going to have a very hurricane-like energetic pattern coming up. And for the past month and a half, it's been just that. What a gyroscope does is when you have a giant wave come at you, it keeps the compass in balance. So when that wave in the ship comes up like that, that compass is still level and aiming at north. And that was my message. I didn't understand how critical that was going to be. And it's still unfolding. I've come back to Mississippi and have integrated with several friends and family while on my way to Peru and selling my old 3D tools because I don't want to build houses the way they used to be built. I don't want to do mechanics the way they used to be, and I did all of that. And I had full shops for doing that. And I know that we've got to totally change the way that we do everything. I was headed to Peru to do exactly that, but the energetics were not there. And many of my friends were saying they were seeing me taken down, getting guilt for doing what I do. I do expose. I break down the old barriers, like so many of us do. On the way to Peru, I found that there was a lot of stuff still going down from what would be most easily called the old CIA drug trade. And old ways of doing things, and I was getting ready to go right into that, and I was stopped dead in my tracks. TSA actually did it by opening my 3D printers and not allowing me to carry that into Peru. And so I turned around and I came back to Mississippi, and I didn't understand what it was that I was here to do until last night and this morning. We have just had the Scorpio Full Moon. Scorpio Full Moon is about that deep down, going through your darkest levels, getting all those ghosties out of your closet, cleaning up the energetics. It's about self and house cleaning, and we always have to do that for our next level of enlightenment. You've got to clean up the darker levels to get to the higher levels of light. That's just how it works. You can't hold more high vibration if you've still got lower in there. And Mississippi, where I am right now, the beach is 250 yards that way. 75 miles south of this is where the Gulf oil spill was. 100 miles to the west of here is where Bayou Corn is. This right here is ground zero of Hurricane Katrina. This was the eastern eye wall. I rode it out about 200 yards that way. My grandparents' house I found in this backyard right here. It took me 6 weeks to find. It went down as all the apartment complex that was right next to the house I was in, my family house. Went down at 11:08 in the morning, and I've got the pictures of all that on Facebook. There's a lot of old energies here that have to be cleared up and cleaned up. As I come back to Mississippi, I am completely astounded by all the persons awake and aware of what's going on. 4 years ago when I left, and I had to leave because I was exposing HAARP, and what I'd known about HAARP for the past 20 some odd years since I got kicked off of HAARP Gacona, Alaska in 1993 with my best bud. He was a Army Ranger. We were going in to see what HAARP was all about, and a little black van with some goons, spooks, fully dressed in black fatigues, MP5 machine guns, black face masks, pulled up in front of us and stopped us and turned us around. Black cats running across my path right in front of me, right as I say that. Very interesting. And we were told to leave, and I kept quiet, although I kept watching HAARP all that time. As Fukushima unfolded, Dutch Sense started speaking about tectonic warfare via HAARP. I had been following the Sichuan earthquake, Christchurch earthquakes, the Indonesian earthquakes, Haiti earthquakes. I don't even remember what was when now because it's all jumbled up, and had realized the telltale signs of HAARP in the depth, and noticing that all these major earthquakes had the same thing, and that many persons were filming the clouds as the ionosphere was heated above the earthquake zone prior to the earthquakes occurring. And so there was video evidence as well as space evidence, you know, looking down by satellite, as well as, you know, atmospheric evidence and the heating of the atmospheres. And anyway, as we started exposing that, I had gotten immediately virused, and I took pictures of it as I made my first posts on HAARP. And it was while I was here in Ocean Springs, and I took pictures of it and posted it on Facebook to expose it and show what was going on, and show that, you know, what I was speaking about was very true and very real, and you know, I was being watched heavily. And then I started getting these weird feelings, and I did a trace route. I pinged them like a submarine sonar, pinged up the line, and found out that the persons that were watching me was coming from Keesler Air Force Base 10 miles away. That's where they're training the cyber warfare team for the U.S. military. And I'd already been exposing the Gulf oil spill and what was going on, and noting how many persons that were doing the expose of the Gulf oil spill were being found suicided. and I knew I had to go. I knew it was as much for the persons that I love as it was for my own safety. I'm not really afraid of fighting or dying or anything like that, but I'm here to change the planet. And me and a lot of you, we play on different levels that are not less necessarily linear, trying to wake people up or, you know, help better their lives in that way. We're playing on a more energetic way, doing ceremonies and moving energies, and realizing that our thoughts are creating our reality, and by joining together in ceremony, we're creating the energetic force for change. And I've been doing this for a long time, and that's what harmonic convergence and opening the 1111 doorway was all about. That's what all these different sacred ceremonies that we come together and do is all about. Now, as we're going through our ascension, and we're activating our heart chakras and all our other chakras, and expanding our light body, and really empowering our Merkaba, we're becoming far greater ascended beings as, you know, as we go through these processes. We're realizing how reality is created, and how the enslavement of humanity has been done. And there's many of us here that we came in here with knowing and with memory, and knew we were here to do these things. And there's waves of us that go through our ascension process. There's just like there's different waves of 144,000. It took 144,000 of us for harmonic convergence, and not everybody who joined there was called to open the 1111 doorway in 1992. Harmonic convergence was in 1987. And then there was a wave that began in November, December of 2009, of those of us who have shifted our consciousness from our head to our heart and expanded, you know, activated our light body and expanded, going through our ascension process, the real ascension process. People keep on thinking that it's off planet, and it's not this time. I've explained that many times. And and so it's interesting as I come back, and now so many people are waking up geopolitically, and many going through their spiritual ascension and activating their heart chakras, and just beginning that process. And as that happens, people are starting to see what's going on the planet, and they're going, ah! And so that's what I came back to in Mississippi. And I have not had any clear messages for a month and a half. It was the fall equinox that I came home. And the first person who I saw when I came home, the very next morning, I got here at dark. The very next morning, I'm driving through town, and the first person I saw was the person whose love I activated with, and who I love so much. And I had to leave because of what I had to do. And I know she can't understand that, but that's the way it is. And it's kind of funny because I saw her offspring several different times since I've been here in place of her, and used to it was her that I was seeing all the time. It's really amazing. But I had to make a break and cut it for both our sakes, because I can't be what I used to be. And I can't go back. And only if that comes up can that change. And anyway, that's a story within itself, and I better keep that. You know, I am fully open source for myself, but there are things that I have to respect about other persons, and I can't speak openly about it for their sake. It's not for my sake, it's for their sake. And this morning I wake up and I have the realization of what I'm doing here and why I've been called back. And the Gulf oil spill is still unfolding. The sheen on the water is heavy. The bait fish are not there. The shrimp and the pogie, menhaden, all the mullet, all that used to, be so prevalent. I mean, I could go out fishing and cast my net and throw in a cast net and catch a pound of shrimp in a single cast, or 25 or 30 mullet in a single cast, or driving through the schools of mullet and they're jumping in the boat. And that's what it was like before the Gulf oil spill, and they're not there anymore. And those of you who've been following my work know that for me, it's all about ceremony and moving the energies on a higher level, which those higher energies step down and step down and step down and step down into this linear reality. Many of you have heard me say that my messages as a child I was part of the biblical bottomless pit, Revelation 9, the Hopi seventh sign. That's what the Gulf oil spill is. It unfolded in my front yard. And since I was a child, I received the message that only the Christ can close it back up. And that's true. It's very true. And the Christ is all of us who are activating and standing in our light, enlightening ourselves through our ascension process, through that shift of the duality into the heart. The heart has the oneness. The brain has duality. The brain you have to make balance in. The brain is fourth dimensional at best. The heart itself is fifth and sixth dimensional while remaining in this plane. And yes, you can hold many higher dimensions than that within your heart once you've obtained that. But there is only one way. The mechanics of ascension, just like the mechanics of anything else. And that's what I deal with, is mechanics. It's how things work, how it's put together. And it's really from our higher selves down to where we are here. And it's all about the experience. There's many of us that realize that we got thrown into a timeline, and some people say the timelines have all merged. I don't necessarily feel that. We've still got multiple timelines. There's always going to be multiple timelines. It's personal choice as to which way we go. That does not mean that we're not taking another direction in another part of us as an experience. But for us as the individuals, yes, we're pulling back in the fractals and creating a singularity of the timelines. In those multiple timelines, there's both higher timelines and lower timelines. Much easier and much more difficult. Higher vibrational and much more joyous, and lower vibrational and much more in need of cleaning up the energetics. That's really all it is. We're trying to bring it all back into one. And in the core of the physicality has to do with vibration. All life in this universe, the multiverse, has to do with water. Even a rock has water. It cannot be held together. Nothing can consist without water. There's water in everything. Water is the key to all the vibration. Even our star has water. Star water. It makes the water and sends it to us. Cosmos has water. Comets have water. Ison had water. Boy, did Ison set off a chain reaction with the sun, which set off a chain reaction with us when it came around last Thanksgiving. You can look back and realize that now. And it's all about water. And right now, I've been guided back to Mississippi, not only for product development, and I came back with an extra 3D printer, which I was taking to Peru, which our lovely TSA and Homeland Security decided to open up and remove some parts for me, and because I'm on their list. And I had an extra one that I had purchased for myself, and I had always planned on building two-piece wind turbines. I'd had an idea for these for 20 years, and being the machinist, I was saying, man, this is going to be a very expensive piece of equipment to be machining, and might not be cost effective, although it's just two parts and very simple. But 3D printing, that's a different story. And so anyway, looks like I've been dropped back into Mississippi to develop those wind turbines, and it's a perfect place because it's right here on the beach, and I have the perfect test place right here to test wind turbines and to build alternative energy trailers with solar panels and graphene batteries, and a new way of doing things, having power, even with the potential of building my own electrical vehicle that's different from the modern, what electrical vehicles are out there, and building something even more efficient. And it seems like that fork in the road has just been passed, and my going to Peru is on hold. Does not mean I'm not going to Peru. Does not mean that the shaman weren't right in seeing us coming. It just means that there's some energetic cleanup with old dark forces that has to go on there, and that it's not time for me to go. My time is here here in Mississippi, working on water healing. And interestingly enough, I had no understanding of what was going on until this past day. I came back seeing the Gulf oil spill was in such, it's still going on. The oil dome that they were drilling into, that when it collapsed, the whole circumference of that oil dome is now leaking, and it's still going on, and only the Christ, which is all of us as we wake and join in our collective focus, can heal that, just like Fukushima. It's the only way we're going to heal those things. There is no technology that can go down there a mile under the water and fix the Gulf seabed. It's not going to happen. Or Fukushima. It's not going to happen. And the the spacecraft that we see are us. That's our future selves. We've got to get from here to there, and and they're here guiding us because we can jump time. It's just like my messages as a child. It was me giving me my messages as a child. I saw it as Archangel Michael giving me my messages, and only until I came to that time where I stepped back in time to give me my message of what I needed to do did I realize that was me giving me my message. The ETs that we're seeing, the light ships that we're seeing, is our future selves, and we have to get back there. So many people are saying, oh, we gotta, raise our frequency and they can land and change all this, and it's not up for them to change. We created it. We gotta get ourselves out of the mess. We created the darkness that's in our hearts, and we have to clean it up. That's what the Scorpio Full Moon's all about. And we've got to build our own craft. We've got to get ourselves off this planet. And we're going there. And it's going to happen. And Keshi and Ralph Ring and so many of the rest of us and so many engineers. What has happened in this past since ISON came through in December, we started really joining forces for 3D printing and really joining forces for, with QEG. The QEG really got a lot of engineers together going, man, we've all been trained wrong. And we can make free energy technology. Now, how do we do it? And so what the QEG has done, although it has not proved it is what was thought was going to happen with it, that it was going to be so easy, what the QEG did do is bring all the engineers together, and a lot of machinists together, a lot of builders together, a lot of inventors together to say, yeah, we can do this. And so it's been a really, really good thing that's happened with all that. A lot of people are discouraged because they want it right now. Believe me, I do too. And I've had to spend these 52 years learning patience, and I'm not a patient guy. But I've had to learn patience. And anyway, this not going to Peru has brought me in contact with old friends that have missing links to those skills that I need to re-up myself. And with the wind turbines or alternative energy trailers, we're all coming together. Now with this Gulf oil spill, and it's all about frequency. Something that didn't dawn on me until last night, and boy did I see it clearly. It hit me like a brick wall. Ka-wong! My family home, when we rebuilt it after Katrina, I designed this thing so that it is the most efficient home. It originally was built in 1884 at the New Orleans Cotton Exhibition, and then it was brought from New Orleans over to here and put on a large bluff, which makes it perfect for wind power and solar. And we used spray foam insulation. Oh man, you wouldn't believe what I did to build this thing. It's rated at 185 mile per hour sustained winds. That's what it's engineered to, and it's encased in steel, double layers of plywood screwed and glued on the outside, banded together, hilty shot, blah 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 blah, spray foam insulation, rubber roof, and geothermal. What is geothermal? Geothermal takes water. Geothermal pumps water down into the earth. Frequency. Our frequency affects the water. The water affects all other water. Water affects all other DNA. In my own family home, the water that's getting pumped so deep into the ground here that radiates out and affects all other water and then is looped back up comes through my family home. We've got the first geothermal permit ever issued here. That's pretty freaking cool. I came back stepping into all this chaos that I feel. It has aged me. You can see it in my eyes. And the good food has put about 10 pounds on me. I love the food here. It is awesome. And I've got to change the food here too. I'm being asked by so many because we've got such a problem with the contamination of food. I'm being asked by a lot of persons to help start and show and teach aquaponics. And that's part of why I'm back. But the alternative energy is, and the water healing is, and my frequency is affecting so many persons here. And as my frequency affects them, wherever they go, their frequency is affecting everybody else. And just like that compass on the ship, as they're waking up, for those of us who have been awake and aware, for me, I've known about the government, you know, the Majestics and all that, who really controls this planet since the 1970s and early 80s. I was handed information way back then, and then I was working offshore. At the same time, they were building the salt domes, and me and my brother were working on crews that were going out to the rigs and going out to work on various parts of the piping and pumping systems as they took the oil tankers which came into the superport offshore and pumped their oil in the pipelines back into the loop in South Louisiana, south cutoff. Is that right? That was back in 1981. That's like so many lifetimes ago. And back then, the crew boats would, and back then George Bush was vice president, really president for 12 years. And the Bushes, through Operation Paperclip, brought in all the Nazis who were Hitler's goons and who really took over Nazi Germany and was the reason for World War II. And then George Prescott Bush, George Bush 41 president's grandfather, was very, very tight with the Nazis, and so was George Bush 41. And many persons know that every bullet ever shot at the Allied forces, the United States and Britain and France and all of those of us that were on this side of things in World War II, that all those bullets were made in St. Louis, Missouri, and sold to Hitler, and that's how the Bush made their family fortune, or a large part of their family fortune, and it was held back up after World War II. And then they brought in the Nazis, which created the CIA, and then you had the big thing on the communists, in the communist scare in the early 1950s, which the McCarthy era, which was really the Nazis trying to get all the persons who were not about corporate structure out of the way. Nazis are all about corporate structure. That's what Nazism is. And what did George Bush do when he was president? But set up the corporate structure, deregulate the banks, blah, 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 blah. And then George Bush was president, coming from being the head of the CIA, the head of the Nazis. As Reagan's vice president, Reagan was kind of forced into having George Bush be that vice president, and then Bush was president for 12 years, and then his son stole the election, and 2000, was president for another 8 years with Cheney really being the head nasty guy. And Cheney was head of Halliburton, and Halliburton is directly related to the Gulf oil spill, and they sold all their stock in the Gulf oil in Deepwater Horizon in the days before, and insured themselves and bought boots and coots and did the whole. I mean, that was the whole expose where 50 persons were killed by exposing the Gulf oil spill and what happened. And that was all about Halliburton. But back in the 1980s, when my brother and I were working offshore, there was an oil crisis that was going on at that time, so they could raise the oil prices, and they were so scared of all the terrorists that could be coming into the loop and blow up one of the pipelines or something like that, you know. And they had all the CIA goons out there in their assault boats with 50 caliber machine guns sitting on the front of them. And as we were going out the bayous in the cruise ships, we would pass by these gunboats, and they'd take the crews out to wherever we were going. And the only person that could ever come back in the cruise ship was in the crew boats was the pilot. These pilots were always a little strange. They were more like helicopter pilots, like Air America pilots. Duh. It was all CIA. CIA was smuggling the drugs in Peru. See my drift here? Anyway, the crew boats would go out, drop us off, and leave, and then disappear going the wrong direction from going back into the loop. And back then we had banana boats coming in, and there was a lot of drug trade that was going on here in the Gulf Coast, especially at Gulfport Harbor, just about 15 miles from here, where with a pistol or a rifle or something you could go trade for. Back then it was pot. It was the CIA that was smuggling the cocaine and heroin and stuff like that, and they were trying to shut down and keep pot illegal, and then get persons addicted to cocaine and heroin and other things. And pot's non-addictive, and pot's really used for a lot of spiritual and healing things, as you know. And it's part of all the banking control, the oil cartel control. It's all the same thing. It's all the same families running the planet. And damn, I've been talking for 38 minutes and 11 seconds. I look down. That's 11:11. And so, anyway, there's been a lot of us that have been exposing what's going on for a long time, and now the whole planet, or at least around here where I am in Mississippi, I noticed in Florida, people were waking up left and right. Even persons that were really anchored in 3D were still waking up. Something's up with the government. Something's up with those controllers. And we can't change the government from the exterior. Einstein said that you cannot solve a problem in the same way it was created. You've got to go to the next higher level. You've got to ascend. That was the whole point in stopping the war and me selling my guns, getting rid of my sword. I got rid of my sword. I don't have my sword anymore. I got rid of all that stuff. All that I trained with for so heavily, for so long, and thought I would have to use, I had to drop. And I'm open sourcing. I'm telling the world this now. Could that be dangerous? I don't think so. I think it'll take me up to a higher level of light and a higher level of awareness, And I always know when something's wrong, just like my going to Peru. I had a feeling something was not right. As long as I stay in that heart space, I'm following the energies, I'm protected 100%. I just got to trust it. It's how life works. And so by getting rid of these things and changing myself, by trying to solve this issue in a different way, we cannot keep on. You hear the house being built over here and the hammering that's going on? That's an old way of doing things. We're getting ready to start 3D printing houses. In fact, China just printed 10 concrete houses in one single day just a few weeks ago. We can utilize the existing laws that have kept us enslaved and do it in such a way where we can be outside the grid. We can concrete 3D print houses in a single day and print the footings and the walls and set the house up with a ledger and not print a slab. Slabs keep the earth from breathing. We really don't want to put a whole lot of concrete in the ground, but we can use wood floors built on ledgers, and we can build houses very quick, very inexpensive, and far stronger than anything built today, and remain within the same building codes that has been used to enslave humanity. We can also use alternative energies and bypass all the control that the energy companies, the same controlling families, have on humanity. We can build houses in such a way that they are so energy efficient that if we force feed in tariff laws, which Obama set it up so all states and even individual cities, Ocean Springs right here, if the mayor and the city council would pass a law saying we could have feed-in tariff, we require feed-in tariff laws to the local power company, Mississippi Power, who is very Illuminati. And my family has a deep relation to Mississippi Power. They helped create Mississippi Power when it first began. That's my stepfather's side. We can force the buyback of power just like the Tennessee Valley Authority does at 32 cents per kilowatt hour for green power that we manufacture. And we can actually build houses when you do something like this that will pay you to live within that house. And we can do it within the existing regulations, rules and regulations and building codes that we have, and actually supersede the quality of the structures that are currently being built. This house that you're hearing them hammer on, it's a piece of junk. It's the building that way that caused so much damage during Hurricane Katrina. When the winds were blowing at, it's 145 sustained where I was. The water had come up to my chest right here. My ground level where I was 24 feet above sea level. The water was up at my chest. And I will tell you how much surge we had. And I was watching buildings collapse all around me. When I finally had to go inside and I went upstairs and I'm looking down and I'm watching everything collapse, I was able to recognize how to engineer structures so that they could sustain man-made storms like Hurricane Katrina, Mr. Cheney. Speaking of man-made storms, right now we are in the high 50s or low 60s where I am. It's cold as heck today. I had shown some people around here how they have been using the ULF waves to freeze the upper atmosphere and how the weather's being modified and created. Everybody's absorbing what I have to say. Now, there are a lot of people that are waking up and going, I know what's going on, that are really haven't got a clue yet. Only a small part of what's going on. They'll get there. It's good that they're waking up. and they'll go through their ascension process too. But it's that chaos that I've felt for this past month and a half, and I have not had any clear messages until now, and that's part of the reason why I hadn't done a whole lot of videos on what's going on energetically. And then plus, as I was hacking and cracking my family business computer system and exposing Microsoft, there was a lot of things there that I just didn't feel right about sharing with everybody, so those videos I've kept private for concern of my own family. And obviously, after you hear the story, you understand the reasons why. And so anyway, I'm out here doing this video to explain what's going on with me and to tell everybody, dudes, we've just passed another huge point. My last Ascension initiation began when I got here, and it was my 16th. It seems like my 5th, which is the activation of the heart chakra, which begins the true ascension process, which it was my twin flame that I activated with. She affected my 5th, my 7th, my 11th, and now my 16th. My 16th began when I saw her, and she never saw me, but boy, I felt her. I was driving right down the road, and it's like, boom, there she is. Oh shit, there she is. And she walked right in front of me, and she never saw me. We're playing in 2 different vibrational patterns right now, and it's a good thing, you know. She does some very wonderful things. She's a very wonderful person, but I had to put some distance from my own being and for hers. And anyway, when I saw her, there was a whole lot of energies that went out right there. That was from the repatternings that we've gone through. And right now, we've just gone through another repatterning, and I'm getting ready to explain that in a moment. But those patternings were from previous lives, and how we always had repeat of similar things, because we're here to learn lessons, we're here to have experiences, we're here to trigger each other, and we're here to it's all about the experience. That's really what you know, this whole 3, 4D, 5D, the whole material existence is all about the experience. We're feeding the mind of God. God cannot understand itself without having to understand all that is. And that's what timelines, that's what material life and timelines are all about. Exploring every possibility to know itself, to completely master and explore every potential in the material existence. Granted, there's even higher levels, but this is just about this level. And that's what the duality experiment has been all about these past millions and millions of years. And now we're confined to Earth. And now those of us that helped begin it, we're ascending the whole universe by our completion of the experiment going on now. I told a friend years ago, in 2009, as I was activating my heart chakra, the message that I was receiving was, as we were coming up and we're going across the line of 2009 to 2012, we're going to hit 2012, December 21st, 12/12/12 to 12/21, and then we're going to feel those energies as we're coming up to it of the new, and we're going to have this experience of the new for about 3.5 years, and then we're going to cycle back, and then we've got to go back and clean up all the negativity, and then we can move forward. That is exactly what's going on right now. That's why we're having so many episodes of lower vibrations coming through, because we have to clean it up. The Scorpio Full Moon. We can't clean up the government without first cleaning up ourselves. We can't make changes on this planet without first open sourcing ourselves. We have to remove all the darkness. As we shift the consciousness from the head into the heart and we expand our field, light body initiation, first ascension initiation. Some of us have just hit the 16th. As we do that, to go farther and farther and farther expanding, we have to clear up more and more of those lower vibrations, that negativity. We have to go through the open sourcing. And we have to clean all our ghosties in our closet up. We have to make sure that nothing of that old way matters. We are creating, it's a new operating system. That's what we're doing. We're raising our vibration in a new operating system, like going from Windows XP to Windows 7. And if you look back on it, we had Windows 3.1, we had Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows XP, and now we got Windows 7. 5 worlds. New, Lemuria, Atlantis, the world we just have had since Atlantis till now, and we're going into 5th world. Hopi 5 worlds, 5th dimension. And it's really neat to see, you know, the fractals. Everything is always fractalized. It's just like the computer system that I was hacking into for my family to change the POS, and all that was an enslavement. It was held enslaved by the persons who sold the computer system to the natural foods businesses. And they sold it under lock and key, that had electronic lock and key, that literally was inside a cage, just like the Matrix that we have here, that the IDE coming off of it went from a 2-pin bus to a 3-pin bus, and then further encrypting, and then it's multi-layer passwords on the inside, and then you've got this virus pack file, execute files, that renames all the hardware to steal the identity, steal the soul. It's the same thing as the Matrix. And then you had the encryption codes on top of that. That's what I hacked through this past month that none of my IT friends have been able to do for years and years and years. Everybody was like, fuck that. And so it's done. And we've got a new operating system. Loop, pass it over, now we're going forward. Loop, pass it over, now we're going forward. Same thing. We're building new operating system, new frequencies. We've got to do things in a different way. Can't do it the same old way, although people are still doing it the same old way. Hammer, 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 hammer. Using up the world's resources in a way that's not sustainable. And now we've got to change that. This is why I'm back home in Mississippi. I so get it. I'm sitting under a tree, which I wanted to get married under. I have been married once, and it was a shotgun marriage. And that wife and family served its purpose and probably kept me alive. Many of the persons who were my mentors and who I was taught, trained, and guided by have been removed from the planet. Doing sacred ceremonies with many of the Native American chiefs and sacred grandmothers and shamans and stuff like that. I found that many of the shaman, many of the medicine men were locked up at those same times in the early 90s, and by the government, by the same Bush family situation. These are the guys who were the seers. These are the guys that knew our thoughts and our emotions created our reality. These were the guys that pulled us together for ceremony, for changing this reality. And many of us got removed from the planet. And they're doing their work from the other side. Some of us went through and we're still here. My marriage is probably what kept me alive. Funny, but TSA, Homeland Security, the American Gestapo, I think might have just kept me alive again by keeping me out of Peru for a while some things get cleaned up down there. So many of my friends who are visionaries and seers and remote viewers were seeing things that were going on that were not kosher, and I was just feeling the energies. I wasn't seeing on this one. There were too many potentialities. And so anyway, it's all worked out to this, and my first video back home is under this wonderful tree of life. It's called the Ruskin Oak. And this is a most massive, most beautiful tree. It is so big that its tree roots go into the ground. See, they actually go into the ground. And back up. Get the other limbs of this massive, gorgeous, gorgeous tree. The limbs of this tree go into 4 yards. 4 different yards. It is just amazing. Look at the size of this thing. It would take a dozen of me to put my hands around this massive tree. I've been playing in it for years. Look at it going over into that yard. And then it goes down and drops down. Same as it does back there. Same as it does there. It drops down into other yards. This is one of my favorites. This is where I wanted to get married. Got the rope swing up in it. Kids to play. It's huge. We got another one in my front yard that's 600 years old too. So this is why I came back. I didn't get it till now. I was trying to force, because I wanted to build the village in Peru, the city in the jungle, build it in a new way. I was trying to force it through my head, but my heart was saying no. And I couldn't understand why the energetics were not working until now. And I get it. I totally get it. I've got to make some changes around here and hold the energies and frequencies. Be that compass of the ship, holding steady while we're still in a hurricane, just like Hurricane Katrina. And I had to come back to ground zero of Hurricane Katrina and the Gulf oil spill to do what I got to do. So it looks like I'm going to be here for a little while. It does not mean Peru is out, but because Peru is in. Peru is very in. But there's some things that I got to take care of here first. And it might be a few years. I don't know. It's a very difficult and trying time for me because I'm feeling everybody's energies. And I've been so remotely positioned over vortexes. And here's another thing. I don't understand why here, right here, the vortexes, where are the vortexes? I don't get it. We're above aquifers right here. Just like in Florida, you have the crystal beds in the aquifers. Just like in Chihuahua at the crystal caves, you have the crystal beds in the aquifers. Those create vortexes. It is not here. That part I haven't understood and comprehended yet. Remember out in Hopi land, there was energy domes placed over the area that kept the Hopi from going through their ascension process. I'm not as great of a visionary as many of my shamanic and remote viewing friends, but I would perceive, because I work with the energies, that it is something similar to those energy domes that were placed above Hopi land. There's going to be a lot of ceremony that needs to go down here in Mississippi. And if there's persons who are willing to join in ceremony, it's time. I'm here. It's what I do. And so, anyway, I'm coming up at 58:58 on that video. At 59, we're going to have to shut down. My friends, I love you all. We have just passed through a dark wave of crap, and we're into something new. It's time to rebuild. It's time to rebuild. I'm not answering my mail much, but I'm here. Got too much going on to work with persons right now with what I'm doing. And I'm setting up the 3D printers, and I'm doing my CAD designs and getting ready to do what I got to do. I'll keep you posted as I can. Anyway, love y'all. Bye for now.